Hi, I'm Scott. Welcome back to Synth Stuff. A few weeks ago, I did a video on the top 20 synths of 2025, and that was my take on what I thought was the best in terms of synth offerings from the manufacturers for the year 2025. I will put a link to that up here. In that video, I flew my airplane out to Sweetwater and tried out all the synths that I thought I should include in the video and got to hear what they all sounded like and so on. So that was my take on the top synths of 2025. But in this video, we're going to be looking at what you think are the top 20 synths of 2025. And some of these really surprised me. Coming up. So how do we do this? Well, for my synths, I just went through everything that was out in 2025, and I took some arbitrary limitations. I said it couldn't be more than $2,000. It had to have an actual keyboard on it that you could play, and mini keys was points off. For this list, it's actually coming from YouTube. So YouTube tracks a lot of things. It tracks what people use in terms of search terms to get to my channel. And once you're actually on my channel and watching my videos, YouTube tracks what you're interested in and what you're clicking on and so on. And it shows that to me with the idea being that, hey, I can then feature content on those things that people are going to want to watch. And it gives me a list of those things, and it shows me the percentage of interest in each of those. And so from that, I was able to derive, I just took the top 20 synths. And like I said, a lot of these really surprised me. So let's get started with number 20. It is the Arturia Polybrute, $4,500. It is the Arturia flagship synth, a 12-voice analog synthesizer. It has polyphonic aftertouch with the MPE control, and it has that weird Morphe pad. It's like a, I don't have anything like it. It's kind of like a flat pad where the mod and pitch wheels would go, and you can, it's XYZ pad, so you can bend it left or right or up and down or push it down and link it to all different modulations. I played with one when they had it at Sweetwater, I think it was last year. They did not have one this year. It was a very, very nice sounding synthesizer. I have on a number of occasions been very close to buying a Matrix Brute, which was the original monophonic version. This is a 12-voice polyphonic. And if you know analog synthesizers, putting 12 voices of analog synth in a box is a huge achievement, because when you talk about putting 12 voices in there, that means each of those voices has, what, 3 oscillators? And so you have to have 3 oscillators per voice. So that's 36 oscillator circuits. And then each of those has to have its own envelope circuit, its own filter circuit. So you've got 12 separate envelopes and filters for each voice. It's a lot of circuitry. That's why analog synths cost so much to build, because you have to copy everything over and over and over again for every voice. Anyway, Arturia Polybrute 12 was number 20 on the list. Number 19, a synth that I used to own. I sold it, the Roland JD-Xi at $600. I did a video on this when I had it. I will put a link to that up here. It is a hybrid analog digital synth, kind of. It has an analog voice, but it's a very limited analog voice, and really it's just something I think Roland threw in there to be able to say, hey, woo, analog. But it's really kind of a useless feature. Primarily, it's a virtual analog and sample-based synthesizer, but it's very, very flexible. It has a vocoder in it. It has a lot of sounds, tons of samples. It's got drum machines in there, so it has all the 808 and 909, all the CR78, all the classic Roland drum sounds, drum machine sounds. It has a TR Rex sequencer. It's a very capable little box, but it's saddled with the worst mini keys I've ever used on a synthesizer, and they're very fragile. So many people end up breaking the keys on their JD-Xis just from everyday use. The other problem that they saddled this thing with is the 2-line LCD dot matrix display. If you have to do anything other than what the sparse controls on the control surface allow you to do, the menu diving in this thing is intense. I mean, literally, if you want to change an oscillator, it's like menu this, 4 down here, enter, sub-menu this, select that, sub-menu this. It's really awful to program sounds on this thing or even just use it. But if you want a very, very capable and great sounding synthesizer at a really good price, the Roland JD-Xi maybe is something you want to look at, especially if you have another synthesizer with a decent key bed on it that you can just MIDI to it and use that to play it. Number 18, this one surprised me. The Modal Cobalt 5S. It is the limited version of the Modal Cobalt 8. It has only 5 voices. It's not patch compatible because it has scaled down effects, scaled down features. It does not have all the features that the Modal Cobalt 8 does. And it also has mini keys, although it does have aftertouch on those mini keys. $490 for the Modal Cobalt 5S. I'm honestly really surprised this one showed up. I didn't think many people were interested in that synth. I don't think it sold particularly well. And now that you can buy the Modal Cobalt 8, which is the 37 key, this is the 8X, which is the 61 key, but you can get the 37 key version of the Modal 8 for very close to that price. I don't really see the value proposition for the 5S, but apparently you guys do because you're all searching for it and showing interest on my channel. So there you go, the Modal Cobalt 5S. Number 17 is a synth that I featured on my last video, the Moog Messenger at $900. A fully analog synth. It is a monophonic synth, so you cannot play chords on it. It does have aftertouch. It has 256 patches, 2 VCOs and a sub oscillator, a single LFO. It does have an arpeggiator and a sequencer. I actually like the sound of it. I'm not so impressed with a 32 key monophonic synth for $900, but if you want that Moog sound, this thing will give it to you, and it does sound good. Number 16, another synth that I featured on my last video, the Oberheim TEO-5, $1,850 now. A few weeks ago when I did my last video, it was only $1,500. So it has jumped up by $350. I don't know that I can continue to recommend that synthesizer at $1,850. That's a lot of money for this synthesizer. It is an analog synthesizer with 44 keys. It has 5 voices, so it's limited. Like I said, the more voices you have in an analog synth, the more circuitry you have. So they limited this to 5 voices. It does have channel aftertouch, 256 factory and user presets. 2 oscillators, 2 LFOs, and it does have that Oberheim SEM filter, so low, high, and bandpass. It does have digital effects and an arpeggiator and a sequencer. It definitely sounds like an Oberheim because of that SEM filter. It has that fizz that Oberheims are known for. So if you are looking for an authentic Oberheim sound and you are happy with paying $1,850 for it, then maybe the TEO-5 is something you should be looking at. Number 15 is one that almost made my list, however the mini keys ended up kicking it off. It is the Arturia Minifreak at $600. I don't have this one here, but I do have the software VST version of this, so I have played with this a fair bit. I really like this thing. It really has good sounds, but the mini keys, guys, mini keys suck. Come on. 37 mini keys with aftertouch. It does have 2 separate sound engines in it. Analog filter. Obviously the VST emulates that analog filter, but the hardware has an actual analog filter. Has a similar mod matrix as the microKORG, where you can see on the top left there. It does have a nicer display screen. The microKORG has a small little OLED text screen. It has limited graphics. The Minifreak has a much larger screen, better graphics, and it's actually a much better solution than what you see like on the Wavestate and the OP6 and this little postage stamp screens. That's Roland is also guilty of using those in the Jupiter X and the Jupiter XM and those sort of things. Number 14, I did mention this in my last video, but I didn't actually talk about it much. This is another one that I used to own and sold, and I'm actually kind of sad that I sold it. I sold it for, I think it was like $250. It is the Yamaha Reface CS at $500. This is a tiny little mini key, 37 mini key virtual analog synthesizer. It does have some onboard effects. It has no patch storage, but you can hook it up via USB to your computer and open a browser and visit SoundMondo, where you can store patch from the synth into SoundMondo or browse through hundreds and thousands of sounds on SoundMondo and load those into your Reface CS. You would think $500, actually $500 is a bit much for this little thing. It is getting kind of long in the tooth, but the reason why I like this thing is because it sounds so good. I mean, it's solidly built, it's a metal chassis, and it sounds really good. Yamaha did a really good job on building the virtual analog engine in this thing. And it also has a little built-in speaker, so if you want to use it as a lap keyboard on vacation or something, which is what I did, and that's actually kind of why I miss it. It's probably something worth looking at. Maybe not new at $500, but definitely used. Number 13, another synth that I featured on my last video is the Korg Minilogue XD at $800. This is another one that is an analog synthesizer. 37 keys, but they're slim, kind of like the System 8 here, but they're not mini keys. 4-note polyphony, so it's not a monosynth. Again, gotta duplicate all that circuitry in an analog synth. 200 factory presets, 300 user presets. It does have 2 analog oscillators, but it has a unique third oscillator, which is a digital oscillator. It can be a wavetable, or you could load Logue oscillator that you download off the internet and load that into your Minilogue and use that as the oscillator for that third engine. And there are people that develop oscillators because Korg released an SDK that allows people to do that. So people are developing new oscillators for this thing all the time, and you can load that into it. And it also has digital effects, and you can also load a digital effect off the internet that people will also write. So if you want a weird House of Horrors reverb that somebody wrote, you can take that, load it into your Minilogue, and it'll work. Has an arpeggiator and a sequencer. So for $800, again, this thing's been around for a while, but it sounds good, and it has broad user support. Number 12, I'm surprised this one only made it to number 12. This one was definitely on my list. It is the Korg Multi-Poly. Love, love, love this thing. I think it made it to number 2 on my list. It was $1,000 when I did my video. They've dropped it now. It's $900, even better deal. They have a module version that is without a key bed, and it's $940. The keyboard version is now cheaper than the non-keyboard version. Go figure. It is a digital virtual analog synth, 37 keys, and it's the same key bed as on the Wavestate and the OP6. Not the greatest key bed. I would love for them to come out with a 61 key SE version that has a really nice aftertouch key bed on it. Has that Chaos Physics pad, 60 voices of polyphony. When you get to digital synthesizers, voice limits are only as much as the CPU can handle. So 60 voices, 4 VCO oscillators, 5 LFOs, 2 filters, 4 looping envelope generators, digital effects, and it has that sequencer with multi-lane motion sequencing, kind of an extension of what was done in the Wavestate. This thing sounds so amazing. I do not have the hardware. I do have the software version of this. Love it. I use it all the time. Number 11 on your top 20 synths is the Korg KingKORG NEO. It is now $700. When I did feature this in my last video, it was $800, so it's gone down by $100. This is another digital virtual analog synth with 37 keys, has a joystick, 24 voices of polyphony, 200 factory presets, 100 user presets. It need more than 100, really. That's not enough. 3 oscillators with 138 different oscillator types available, 18 different types of digital filters, has digital effects, and it has a 16-band vocoder with an included mic. And you really want a lot of bands on your vocoder, because the more bands you have in the vocoder, the more intelligible the vocoder sounds. When I saw this, I was really nonplussed with it. I thought, they got to do better than this. But when I got my hands on it at Sweetwater and actually played it and heard it, it definitely went up enough that it actually made it onto my list. So I really like the KingKORG NEO. Number 10 on your list, the Behringer MonoPoly 550. This is the clone of the Korg MonoPoly. It's a 4-voice analog synth. It can be set up to be paraphonic, which means you can play limited chords with each voice only using a single oscillator. So it becomes more of a thin sound, but you can do it, and that's actually something Korg did on their old classic synths, so it's not surprising that Behringer copied that on the MonoPoly. The control panel kind of can be angled up, kind of like a Moog Model D. It has 37 full-size keys, 4 VCOs, and each of those VCOs has 4 different waveforms. Arpeggiator, 2 envelopes, 2 LFOs. It basically sounds exactly like an old Korg MonoPoly, and if that's something you're into, maybe that's a synth you want to look at. Number 9. I was surprised that this synth only made it to number 9. I thought it would be much higher, but keep in mind that this list is a compendium of all the interest that you have shown in my channel over the past year, and this synthesizer has only been out for a couple of months. So the fact that this has only been out for a couple of months and yet it made it up to number 9 means you guys are really interested in this synthesizer, and it is of course the Yamaha MODX M7. Specifically, the M7 is the one you're looking at most. The M6 is $1,800, the M7 is $2,000, the M8 $2,500. On my list, of course, this was my #1 synth. It's a digital workstation. It has the new Montage engine and the UI. It's 16-part multi-timbral, 268 note polyphony, 18 different filters, or filter types rather. It has the new ANX engine that debuted in the Montage. It has a new FSB keyboard, which is the nice key bed that is in the YC, because the old MODX, the key bed was not the greatest. The new MODX M, the key bed is so much better. I played it. It feels amazing. 10.7 gigabyte factory presets, 1.9 gigabytes of space for user presets. It has 8 sliders instead of 4 like the old MODX. It also has 8 scene buttons instead of 4 like the old MODX. It's also slimmer than the old MODX, and it comes with ESP, which won't be out until January, which is the VST version of the MODX, and that you get that for free. So if you want to run a MODX inside your DAW without even having the hardware connected, you can do that. Number 8 is a synth that I own that is sitting right here. Roland Fantom-06 at $1,760. It is a digital workstation. Zencore, supernatural piano, and tone wheel organ. It's kind of a lightweight workstation. I use it for the road. It's not indestructible, but it's very lightweight and it can do pretty much everything. It's a subset of the Fantom 6, which I have down here. It has 61 keys, it has 16 programmable pads, kind of like the Fantom 6, 256 note polyphony, but I mean, that's what Roland says, but it really depends on what sounds you're playing. It has X amount of CPU, and if this tone actually is more complex and uses up more CPU, that means there's less CPU to play other voices. So in the best circumstances, you might get 256 note polyphony, but typically in real world, no. 16-part multi-timbral, 3,500 factory tones. It does have the Roland TR-Rec sequencer and 2 gigabytes of internal storage. It only has, I think it's 256 megabytes of sample storage in the 06. The Fantom 6 has much more, but they really limited the 06. It's enough to get by for what you need to do in a live situation like what I do. But if you're thinking about that as your full-time workstation, you might be better off considering the MODX M. Number 7, the Korg Wavestate. This was also on my list. I've got one sitting right up there. It was $700 when I did my video. It's now $600. That's a steal. The Wavestate's an amazing synth, and it is by far the most inspirational synth. I will sit down with this thing. I'll take it upstairs and put it on my lap on the couch with a set of headphones, and I just come up with idea after idea from this thing. It's so inspirational, at least that's how I use it. 37 keys, not the greatest key bed. 96 voices, 2,100 factory presets. It's got 4 gigabytes of user preset space, so lots of room for samples and libraries. And there's no limit on how many sounds you can put in it. It's just only the memory limit. So if you put in a bunch of presets that use the factory samples, it's pretty much unlimited. I mean, you're going to have thousands and thousands of user presets. Has 3 LFOs, 12 different filter models, digital effects, lots of effects in it, 4 arpeggiators, and that motion lane sequencer that is so complex. The Wavestate, I didn't really gel with it at first because I like doing sound design. Yes, I could load sounds into it and play it and modify them, but it wasn't until they came out with the Wavestate editor, which is free, that you can run on a PC, and it kind of like spreads everything out, because the Wavestate, the engine in it is so complex that trying to cram all that complexity into the controls that they can afford to put on the keyboard means there's a lot of shift functions and double shift functions and stuff you got to remember that's just not intuitive. So when you have the PC editor and it just puts everything on the screen in front of you, it's so much easier to do sound design. So that's how I use the Wavestate most of the time now. There is also a Wavestate native version, which is the VST, and you can get that separate from the Wavestate. You get a discount if you have a Wavestate, or you can buy it separately, and it will allow you to basically run the Wavestate in your DAW. Number 6 is the Korg microKORG 2. This is another one I did featured in my list. It was $700 when I did it. It's now cheaper, $600. I think that's a really good deal for this synthesizer. It is a digital synth with a vocoder, also includes the microphone, 37 mini keys, just like the original microKORG, no aftertouch, 8 voice polyphony, has digital effects. It has a really nice color screen on it. When it first came out, I thought, well, it's nice, but for the price. But they just released a 2.0 firmware, and it loads the ability to load those Logue oscillators, like the Minilogue I was talking about, and also effects. It also adds a new sub oscillator, a split functionality, and it adds a loop recorder with a slicer, almost like a granular sampler in there. So that's all new functionality with the new firmware, and that I think really makes this a much better value proposition. The microKORG, if you can get by with the mini keys, this is probably a really good live synth as well, one you can just stick on the very top of your stack. Number 5, this one, it just came out of left field. I have no idea why so many people are interested in this keyboard that are coming to my channel, because I have never featured it. I've never talked about it. It doesn't seem to fit with my channel, but here we are at $3,900, the Roland V-Stage 88. So it's a new Roland stage piano that they brought out to try to compete with the Yamaha YC and the Nord stage and so on. It has a tone wheel organ with drawbar sliders on it. It has the Roland V piano engine. It has Zencore synths. Honestly, for that price, why aren't you just buying a Fantom? And you get so much more. You don't get the dedicated tone wheel sliders, but I mean, the sliders it has work as tone wheel sliders. So I'm really not sure why Roland brought this out, other than they needed a high-end stage keyboard to compete with the Yamaha and the Nords. But for whatever reason, you guys seem to be interested in it, so there it is, number 5 on my list. Your list. Number 4 is the UB-Xa from Behringer at $1,300. This one was on my list. I played with it. I got a lot of flack for this because I said I really was nonplussed with the sounds. Mainly because Behringer recreated this so accurately that they just put all the original presets in it from the early 1980s when the original Oberheim version came out. And back in the early 80s, for whatever reason, all the synthesizer manufacturers thought that synthesizers needed to be able to emulate real sounds. So they would put flutes and guitars as their presets. And they sounded terrible. That's not what the synthesizer was good at. It was good at sounding like itself, at being a unique instrument that was creating sounds that you'd never heard before. But all the manufacturers did this, where they would put these awful presets in, and that is what is in the Behringer UB-Xa. It's got the original factory presets in it, which sound terrible. When you walk up to it and you've got all these other synths that do these crazy, weird, wacky things, and you got the Behringer and it's playing this terrible guitar sound, it's going to sound terrible, especially in a showroom like that where you just walk up and you play it for 10 seconds, you're like, ugh. Plus it has no effects, and of course all the other synths are laden with effects, and that's fine. I mean, UB-Xa, the original UB-Xa, none of the synths back then had effects, so it's a faithful recreation to that, so yes, no effects. But having limited presets and no effects means the thing is not going to sound that great. And that's why I was really unimpressed with it. Now, if I really wanted the Oberheim sound and I didn't want to spend a huge amount of money, $1,300 for this is way, way cheaper than you're going to pay for the equivalent Oberheim. And it will give you that Oberheim sound. I'm just saying that in a world today where synthesizer sales are made by whatever the sound comes out when you hit preset A1, having preset A1 be flute is not a good way to sell your synthesizers. So, I mean, don't give me flack for it. That's just a fact of life. Number 3 on your list, again, really surprising because I have never featured this synth on my channel. I had one, I sold it. I think I sold it from my first MODX, and it is the Yamaha MX-49. So when the Montage came out, they brought out the cut price version of the Montage, which was the MODX. When the Motif came out, its cut price version was the MX. So this is the MX-49. It was a 49 key keyboard that had 1,000 sounds from the Motif XS. It does have a limited FX engine in it. It's very, very lightweight. Had a pretty decent key bed, better than the MODX. And it had pretty decent pianos. And it is a really, really good, inexpensive, at $650, synthesizer for live work. I've seen so many bands touring that still use the MX-49, and you can get it in blue, which is the one I had. I had the blue one, which I thought was really cool. The MODX, when I got the MODX, it kind of blew away. It did everything the MX did, plus way, way more, so that's why I ended up selling the MX. But it was a great keyboard. Number 2 on your list is my favorite synth, the Yamaha M7. And specifically, the M7 is the one you've been searching for. The M6 is $3,150. M7, which is right here, is $3,600. The M8X, $4,000. It has this beautiful FSX keybed. I think is my favorite keybed on a synthesizer. With channel aftertouch, has the new ANX analog modeling engine plus the original AWM2 sampling engine, FMX. And it has this secondary screen up here, which the MODX M does not. I use this all the time. Whatever mode you're in, if you're in editing something, it switches and shows all the parameters here, and you can quickly tab through all the different pages. It's way faster to edit stuff here than it is to edit over here. So I find myself using this screen just for the main selections and maybe performance controls. And when I'm editing sounds, I'm doing everything on this little screen over here because it's just faster. This is such a good idea. If you are doing sound design, having this screen here is worth paying the extra price for the Montage over the MODX M, in my opinion. It has a billion effects in there, and in my opinion is the best workstation synth you can buy today. And your number 1 synthesizer, I guess I'm not surprised. I knew this one all along because I see a lot of traffic coming to my site with people looking for information on this synthesizer. It is at $825, the Roland GAIA 2, which I've got sitting right over there. It is a digital virtual analog synth with 37 keys, has that XY motion pad in there, 22 notes of polyphony, a little low. Has 256 factory presets, 512 user presets, 1 wavetable oscillator, and 2 virtual analog oscillators. And the wavetable oscillator has a ton of different waveforms in there, and you can mix all those together. 2 LFOs, has a multi-mode filter, which I really like, 53 different digital effects, and the effects on it are decent, like you would almost record with them. Has an arpeggiator and a sequencer, and you can load models into it. It comes from the factory with an SH101 model, so you can go into that and you have a whole bunch of SH101 presets in there. And I have done so many videos on the GAIA 2, I can't point to any one of them, but if you search GAIA 2 on my channel, you will see I've got a ton of videos on there, including one where I compare it to the actual real SH101 that I have sitting right next to it, and it's a very, very close comparison. So that's it. That's your top 20 synths of 2025 according to what YouTube tells me about your behavior coming in. What do you think? If there's anything on there that you think should be on there that isn't, leave a comment in the comment section below. If there's anything I got wrong, or if you have any other suggestions, again, comment below. If you like this kind of video, click like, subscribe to the channel. Really appreciate when you do that. And hey, if you are going to buy any one of these synths, I'd really appreciate you clicking on the affiliate link that I have all throughout this video or in the description. To do so makes me a couple dollars if you buy a synth after seeing my videos. Thanks for watching.